What up, Schlimes? Welcome back to the book club. We read chapters 4 through 6, and it was an experience.
It was a lot faster than chapters 1 through 3. There were a few moments of us laughing when we probably shouldn't because you know that stuff we were talking about of like, hey, we're only gonna read 3 chapters at a time. If stuff's gonna be explained in the very next chapter, we missed it. Yeah, so when we were talking about how complex the power system was, they explained it in chapter 4. Isn't that super exciting?
Yippee.
Woohoo! All right, so we're gonna try to not go faster, but more streamline this. So we're gonna go like half chapter by half chapter. So the first half of chapter 4, what are we thinking about here? We got the start of the fight with the Darumaka guy. Pretty cool stuff. We learned that the katana has 3 different modes. It's got N10 or black, which is ranged sword slashes. It's got red, which reverses and takes controls of opponents' sorcery. And then we've got Nishiki, or the multicolored goldfish, which wins the fight.
We don't really know what it did.
It wins the fight.
It wins
effectively.
the fight.
So the first half of the 4th chapter, they start fighting. He goes black and he cuts up all of the little Darumaka dolls, gets the girl so that Shiba can grab her and teleport back to the car so they can sit there and commentate on the fight, you know. Then Shiba starts talking about spirit cores and how to become a sorcerer versus a normal person, where a normal person has a shriveled up singular core and sorcerers have multiple cores.
They also showed an old person and a fat, lazy person with
Shriveled up,
one.
dying.
And then the person that was standing had 3.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that means.
Whatever that means, yeah. And Shiba is surprised at the fact that Char is teleported and doesn't feel any motion sickness. So I guess that's important for something. We learn more about Char in chapter 6, so I guess we'll go over that when we reach that point. He goes black again. They talk about how cool his stuff is. So it's a bit of exposition explaining the power system and stuff as we talked about. Then the guy starts talking about the fact of, oh my god, is that a 7th enchanted sword?
Enchanted blade.
Enchanted blade. It's like, oh my god, ranged attacks. That's pretty cool. Then the guy, I don't know if you know him, he's kind of on the screen right now saying, damn Daniel. He starts talking about the fact that Char's mother died like a bitch.
Yeah.
Trying to protect her, and like, hey, if you come out right now, this little kid that's fighting for your life right now doesn't have to die for you. And then
he has his mouth open a lot.
He's screaming at the top of his lungs because he doesn't know where he is.
And then nice flashy panel.
Yeah.
With the sword stuff, with the goldfish.
This time it goes red because there's a lot of them out there and he can't defend himself from all of them. And then he gets trapped, and then he uses red in order to reverse it, and then they explain the fact that red is not just defense, it's reversal and controlling the technique. He gets blown up, and then he loses the fight. That's the end of the fight. What do you think of chapter 4?
I feel like our main character, Chihiro, is getting just more and more overpowered as time goes on. I mean, he is very, what's the word? Not coincidental.
What, he has an answer for everything?
He has an answer for everything.
Yeah. The thing that we have to take into account here is he is holding one of 7 nukes in the world, effectively. Like, if you have an enchanted blade, you're just better than everyone else. And the main weakness that he has, which a lot of main characters have starting out, is they are stronger than everyone else in their small pond, but they're a big fish in a small pond, and as they keep going up, they're going to realize, oh shit, this pond's small.
Yeah.
The weakness that we see a lot of times is he'll go in, he'll do awesome stuff, and then at the end of the fight, he'll go, whew, if there was one more enemy there, I would have been too tuckered out to be able to fight the next guy.
I would have died if there was one more truck.
I would have. Boyfriend gets hit by cars ASMR. Let's go. I liked the guy's powers. They're pretty weird. He has the ability to summon Darumaka dolls, melt them down, use them as whips, and use them to lock people up. That was pretty cool. The abilities he shows of the black being ranged attacks and red being like reversal techniques is all of it. Like that's all you need to be a good swordsman, right? Like, is there anything that isn't captured in ranged attacks and reversing every technique thrown at you? Because if they're close to you, you can just use the sword aspect. So,
yeah.
like, what else do you need at that point? I'm sure people understand when you shrug.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that translates.
Don't be mean to me.
Mm-hmm. That's chapter 4. I thought it was pretty fun, pretty short battle. This might just be because I'm getting a little bit jaded about it, but like chapter fights that take like 10 chapters, like in One Piece, where they fight for like 10 chapters and they come up with new abilities and they fight back and forth for forever.
But like the problem with things like One Piece and Bleach is that it's always, all right, I'm gonna fight this new guy. Oh god, I'm not strong enough to beat him. Recovers. All right, I know how I'm gonna beat him.
Yeah, stuff like that. Speaking of One Piece, I can't believe I forgot to bring this up in the first video, which was a thing. This character is Tashigi from One Piece. If Tashigi wasn't a worthless character, pre-time skip and a woman post-time skip. Pre-time skip, women were allowed to be important characters. Post-time skip, women are no longer allowed. So even though Tashigi had a dumb but like understandable dream post-time skip, because it's a woman, she just loses every fight she's in and it's really sad. So yeah, this is Tashigi if it was good. I can't believe I forgot to say that. Also, the Cloud Sword is called Cloud Gouger.
Yeah, that's kind of a cringe name. I'm sure it sounds way better in Japanese, and it's just a weird translation thing.
Either his sword is named Inten, or Inten is the black version of the sword. I don't know.
The sword is called Enten. I don't know.
I looked up what Inten translated from Japanese was, and it just said Inten, so I guess that's the name of the sword. That's my guess. Alright, chapter 5 time. I think chapter 4 was pretty okay. I like the fight. It was fast.
Yeah, it didn't drag on longer than it needed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, so chapter 5 starts with the little girl Char wearing one of Hinao's coats, which is way too big. Hinao talks to them. Char says that she's hungry. Chihiro, the main character, goes to the bathroom before going to the car. I'm just kind of saying this in chronological order because for some reason it like starts midway through what's going on, then it flashbacks to the end of the fight, then it fast forwards to when they're in the car driving.
Yeah, the pacing is kind of weird.
It makes sense. It's just we got confused for a few seconds, so that was weird. Shiba takes the sorcerer to torture him. He gets in the car to buy the kid food. The kid comes with him because Hinao knows that Hinao is runs the temp agency for sorcerers. That's the lady that they're using to get all the information on the Hishaku people. Char goes with the guy because if the sorcerers come by to try to find the girl, Hinao can't defend them in the same way that the main character can. So the main character drives around, picks up food for the kid. And, you know, they have their fun little
bonding
moments of levity.
He flashes back to stuff about his dad.
No, that's later.
Comedic relief?
Yeah, comedic relief after the whole your mother died horribly to protect you. You gotta have your comedic relief. Then we cut to Shiba torturing the guy for information, and he gets the information in off screen, so that's neat.
The girl eats a sandwich and ice cream and a drink, and it all looks really good.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Then we cut to the sorcerers who are chasing down the main character and the little girl. One of them has the ability to create clones of himself, which are all made of goo, and the other one has the ability to manipulate brain waves.
I think they said that it was made out of like mud or dirt. Like
he guessed it was.
Yeah.
He guessed it was like dirt because it was so easy to cut through, but they didn't really like fall apart well, so it was all like wet.
The other guy is able to manipulate psychic.
Manipulate brainwaves. When he's far away from you, he can track you through your brainwaves, and when he's close to you, he can make you relive your worst traumas
in seconds.
Yeah, it's Tsukiyomi from Naruto, but far more specific. It seems like a lot of stuff from the sorcerers here is like incredibly specific.
Convenient.
No, I'd go more specific. Like his power, what do they call him? Cylinder Head. His whole ability is creating and manipulating Darumaka dolls.
Which also explode.
Which explode and which can be melted down into goo that you can use as a solid whip.
Or rope.
Yeah.
Convenient is the word I was looking for earlier. Everything about the main character seems to be really convenient to help him out in the situations that he's in.
To be clear, his abilities are so, like, generic. Of course they cover everything. We find out at the end that the kid was held in a cell by people for years, whose mom died protecting and getting her out of the cell. Her mom told her to be happy, and right now she's the happiest she's ever been, eating food with a guy who's protecting her because they were working together. She's gonna tell him about her true secret and the clan she's a part of and her powers. But sadly, Shiba calls at that moment while they're surrounded by a bunch of cars, telling them that, hey, by the way, there are two sorcerers who are known to work for the guy who has the enchanted blade. It's one guy who is... Oh god, is this not the guy? Oh my god, that's a different guy. Genichi Sojo. Oh god, I gotta write this down. I can't believe I missed that. I'm so sorry. When they're in black and white, I can't tell them apart. I'm so bad at art. Genichi Sojo is a guy who's in a hot spring with a bunch of dead bodies, interrogating people for information on swords. And then they're being hunted down by two different sorcerers. One of them has a bunch of...
those were the same people.
Yeah, I thought they were the same person as well, because Genichi has, like, dirt and muck under his eyes.
Yeah.
And then the copy guy has a bunch of dots all over his face. And so while he's on the phone call getting the information on Genichi and the swords dealer and where Cloud Gouger is, he's being surrounded by cars full of the exact same person. And
a motorcycle. Don't forget the moped.
Moped. They're at the red light, and the light turns green. He starts pressing the gas, and then the ground turns into goo, so they can't drive forward anymore. And then from the goo pops up a bunch of clones of that person all clumped together. And yeah, that's the 5th chapter. So the 5th chapter was a bit more exposition.
It was mostly exposition.
It was levity, exposition, comedic moments. I can't remember the word for it again. Comic relief. And then it ends with them being surrounded by clones of the exact same guy who can grow out of the ground. It was a pretty gnarly thing. I think it's a pretty good setup for the next, like, quote-unquote villain that they're gonna have to fight.
No.
It is weird that they got found out within, like, a few hours after they fought. That's pretty weird. Oh yeah, in this chapter also, immediately after the fight, as I was talking about, like, his main weakness is the fact that if there was one more guy, he would have lost. They go back to the moment where he's holding the Dormaka guy, and his hand is, like, shaking. He's like, alright, you need to go take a rest. You're tired.
You're a bit eepy. Go take a rest.
Alright, so what did you think of chapter 5?
I think it set up some important story details, but it was kind of a nothing chapter.
We learned a lot of stuff, yeah, but there wasn't much excitement except at the end when the Goo Man appears. I like the Goo Man.
The creature of Goo Lagoon.
Double's one of my favorite characters in fantasy, so, you know, at that point I was like, yeah. Skullgirls.
If you say Double, people aren't going to know what you're talking about.
I want people to not get it. I want only the people I'm talking to understand my references.
Keep talking.
I don't care about any of the other characters who could possibly be called Double. The only character I care about is Skullgirl's Double. This is a audio medium.
Yeah, I know. I'm just pulling it up so I can get the name of the character.
But why?
Don't be a douche.
Alright, I guess I can read out some of my notes since apparently we're doing something else right now. This is terrible. This is horrible. I can't believe you're doing this to me.
Just talk. Be entertaining.
About what? We're doing a book club, and I have to wait for you to start explaining the next chapter because you're bringing up something completely unrelated.
There's a
to
guy
the book.
from Soul Calibur that uses other people's weapons, and he turns into a random character at the start of every match.
There's a character that does that in Street Fighter. There's a character that does that in Final Fantasy. His name is Bartz, by the way. What?
He's a blue mage.
Yeah.
He mimics other monsters. Anyways.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, main character's left-handed. I kind of figured that out partway through.
Most swordsmen are left-handed. You just don't understand their culture.
Oh yeah, because Link used to be left-handed, now he's right-handed.
You just don't understand their culture.
Mm-hmm.
So, chapter 6. Chapter 5, we both talked about it. We thought it was pretty mid, but I liked it.
Yeah, I think it was solid and important, but just... I think they could have...
It keeps the story going,
yeah.
And that's pretty much all it did.
Yeah.
It's cute. So then chapter 6 starts. They're sitting in the car. He's trying to figure out how they found them because Char literally never left the car at all when they were getting the food. So how would they know to chase after them like this? Then every car and person turns into goo around them and shoots into the car.
Gotcha.
Covers the car in goo. And then they break out. He's holding Char. They get, oh god, I'm reenacting the entire story again.
They broadcast some information saying there's a guy with a scar and an enchanted blade protecting a kid, and the bad guy will pay any price for the kid and the sword.
And the guy who did that is named Sojo.
Sojo. And cute girl from the sorcerer agency. Hinao, thank you.
Finds this out and calls them, but it's too late because they're already being attacked. Goo guy turns the goo back into more clones. They start chasing him. He turns on black and slices through them. Then he thinks they're made of goo or mud or whatever. And then the mud guy starts talking about, oh my god, an enchanted blade? We only thought there were 6. Turns out you have a 7th. In the war, the Setai War, that thing that everyone knows about except the main character. Those 6 blades were enough to bring heaven to earth, and end the hell.
And the hell that was on Earth.
Yeah.
They didn't say anything about heaven.
Don't yell at me. I'll cry.
Okay. But they said that not all 6 blades have such great power.
No, they do. It's just either the 7th doesn't have that power or you're immature.
Apparently not all 6 swords have such great powers, or perhaps this one's wielder is merely still immature.
Yeah.
He has the 7th blade.
Oh, he thinks he has one of the 6 blades.
Yeah.
He doesn't know that it's the 7th. Okay, let's mess that up. Whatever. They start killing all the clones, but it doesn't matter because if you kill a clone, the puppeteer will just make more clones. Then, out of the clones, another guy appears. He looks kind of like a frog.
Yeah, he has a weird face, a froggy face.
Flat
and then
face.
main character's eyes get all weird and can't tell if that's important or if that's just the thing that the guy does that we'll talk about in a second.
Yeah. He does the Tsukiyomi thing, if you know Naruto. If you don't, effectively, he touches his head and makes him relive his father dying again. And that causes him enough trauma that he, goes down to his knees and is like, holy shit, how long just passed? And the guy goes, oh, 4 seconds. Felt much longer, didn't it? Like, wow, you really got him. You could just kill him, but whatever.
And then he just explains everything about his powers of I can do psychological induction and track people by their brainwaves, and when he's close enough he can mess with them a bit and bring up their trauma and make it feel like it was hours when it was really just seconds. I think Black Mirror had something like that.
Yeah.
The guy in jail where
it's a pretty common thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they talk about eating the little girl, and it's like, what? Don't be dumb. That's a fake thing. The flesh from the Kiyanagi clan making you immortal is pure nonsense. Oh my god. It turns out Char is actually Char Kuyanagi. Kiyanagi?
Kyonagi.
Kiyanagi.
And he crushes her leg, and then it just kind of goos and heals.
Yeah. The Kanagi clan does have special powers. And then the guy that they got paid to kidnap the girl for apparently wants to do something with that. And then they take the main character's enchanted blade, and as they're about to walk away, the guy finally pulls out the second sword that he never pulls out. And it turns out it's a short sword that he uses to cut off the brainwave guy's arm. And from there, he grabs his sword, and then he summons the power of the multicolored one. Nishiki. And the only information we get on this power of the sword is, oh my god, he's so fast.
He does the thing in anime where he's so fast and it's just a bunch of cuts all at once, and he just lands and he's just, everything falls apart.
He's so fast that the girl is literally floating in midair at the end of it because everyone around her is dead. So that's where we got the idea that black is the range sword slashes, red is reverse, and the multicolored one is hopefully Nishiki, which makes him awesome, as they explained the fish to be in the first chapter, or just fast.
Yeah. And then he gave her a sandwich because she threw up.
I don't remember seeing her throw up, but yeah.
They didn't say anything about it?
Either they're lying about her throwing up and she needs to... Ow.
Oh no, she threw up when they grabbed her. It's just hard to tell.
So how do you feel about Chapter CX?
I like how they explain things. The action was really short.
I feel like it's always going to be really short.
Yeah.
Like, this feels like someone who really likes katanas and understands that a sword fight is like the first person to cut the other person, the fight's over.
Yeah.
So of course all of the fights have to be short.
It's a bit more realistic with, obviously, magic, sorcery, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't drag things out, and I like that. Because they put a lot of details into the panels where they show, like, him showing off his awesome sword skills. I do hope that the third one is... My running theory right now is either the third spear fish, whatever, makes him really fast, or it gives him, like, the power that he needs to win that certain fight. Like, it adapts. It's awesome.
Who knows? He's sweating, and he saved food, and he gave it to the girl. So I'm assuming he's gonna pass out, because this is like the third time he's went all out with his powers.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming, like, next chapter, the chapters after that, he's gonna be, like, completely out of it. Because otherwise, what's the point of talking about how tired he is after he uses the powers if he's, like, not taken out because of it?
Yeah. I feel like the second sword he has is just a sword. He just uses it when he needs to like catch people off guard, because it's shorter than a regular sword, but it has the full length sheath, so I think it's meant to be like a fake out kind of thing.
Either the sword that was made was like a Sephiroth sword where it was way longer, and then the dad broke it, so he has a small version of the sword and a big version of the sword now, or it is just a regular sword.
I think it's just a regular sword. I mean, it did just cut through the guy's arm really quickly so he could take his sword back. So
we have not learned of any way sorcery increases your durability. So that could just be a regular sword. But my guess is definitely going to be on the Sephiroth sword side.
How can you move? A short sword.
Oh, yeah.
And he also... Sorry, go ahead.
Them showing him his worst trauma, and the fact that his worst trauma is the whole reason why he fights, was kind of a bad matchup there. The brain guy dies. His head is entirely detached from his body. The clone guy, we don't know if he's dead or not. We're assuming the one holding the little girl is the actual guy, but we don't like
we
get
don't know.
confirmation of that.
Yeah.
We don't see a body, so
I mean, they're, relaxed and, you gave her the sandwich and they're just having a conversation, so it seems like it's over. And there's, a bunch of blood and rocks.
Goo. That's water, because he's doing the goldfish thing, and there's always water around his attacks for the goldfish.
But I mean, all the black is like blood, and when he cuts the
all
other,
of them have black stuff.
Go up. When he cuts through them, it's just dirt coming out of them, but it's blood.
Oh, you are absolutely right. Yeah, that's animated or drawn white and blocky. Yeah, that's a person. Yeah, he's dead. Okay. All right,
Hopefully.
so yeah, it's over.
Yeah. I think out of the three, I like chapter 6 the most. The guy with the Daramakas is just kind of boring. His whole thing is just, oh yeah, I make exploding dolls and I have ropes to capture people with, and you just poke and he's dead. Because he absorbed the power and used that against him. This one though, it seemed like there were actually real stakes, and he renounced, yeah, my trauma is what makes me a better person and a better fighter. You can't use that against me.
I'm gonna have to reference One Piece again. This is gonna happen a lot. In One Piece, people eat devil fruits, and those devil fruits give you power over a quote-unquote concept. So one of the main villains of One Piece in the pre-time skip was a crocodile. He ate the sand fruit, and the main way of knowing if you're good at using your devil fruit or not is if you're able to use the concept surrounding the concept that you ate the fruit of. Like, sand is dry, so he gains the ability to dry people out. Of the three characters we've seen so far, if I'm understanding sorcery correctly, where you get like one power and then there are sorcerous powers around that you can learn, like teleportation, I believe that any sorcerer can do, as long as you train enough with your powers. But the specific stuff, like the sorcerer who can use plants, the sorcerer who can summon Darumaka, the sorcerer who can make mud clones, and the sorcerer who can control brainwaves are the four we've seen so far. Brainwaves guy seems to have taken his power to the most like logical place he could have with the time he had of like tracking people through their brainwaves and Amateratsuing people when he's get close enough to make them relive their trauma and stuff like that. But if you don't kill the person during those 4 seconds of them being out of it, what's the point of you existing? The clone guy, if you're going to bring your real self into the fight with your clones so that if they beat your clones, you can't just run away, what's the point of doing that? The Darumaka guy seems to be the only one so far who's like, well, no, the plant guy is way ahead because he's able to like plant the plants inside of someone's body, and then under certain conditions they will explode out of you and kill you before you're able to give people information. So I think he's the furthest along with my concept of understanding your power and using it well. But the second best was the Darumaka guy, because he could like melt them down and use them to hold people in place and use them to explode and stuff like that. Whereas these two just kind of seem like jobbers.
Well, I mean, the goo guy, he, came out of the ground and was able to swarm them, but the sword was too strong to contain him. So
I feel like you can do a lot more with clones, and I feel like the one mistake you don't make with clones is stand inside your group of clones.
Yeah. He should have had a clone holding her.
He should have been across the country if he can control them from that far away.
Yeah.
Why would you be a part of this?
Yeah. The Soul Calibur character I was talking about, his name is Sharad.
Oh my god, no way.
I'll put Sharad and double on the screen so that people can see what we were talking about. There's Sharad. It's all boobage.
Nuh-uh.
Okay. Where did the other one go?
They don't like Sharad.
Yeah, fair. Sharad is cool. Double is cool. I like characters that mimic other characters in mediums, games, anime, blah blah blah. We'll talk about that in the next podcast.
Yeah, we can talk about that in the podcast. I don't know why.
The podcast.
We're talking about that in the book club, but whatever.
Don't yell at me.
Fine. The
I mean,
sixth
Sasuke is kind of that way too with the Sharingan.
if he used it ever.
Yeah. He used it at first, and so did Kakashi.
Yeah, that was pre-time skip.
Yeah.
You'll notice most stories get far more simple after the time skip.
Yeah.
Yeah. I honestly, the only reason why I don't like this sixth chapter the most is because they introduced two brand new characters with two brand new powers.
And they're just gone.
And they just kind of suck with their powers, in my opinion. It's like, how do you grow up, survive the Setai War, which apparently was hell on earth, and not be better with your powers? It's kind of upsetting, but whatever.
No.
I'm sure that's not a trend that will grow upon itself.
I was just saying that, Chapter 4 was finishing up the fight from before, and it just kind of
Chapter 4 was the entire fight. Chapter 3 ended with him being like walking out of the store and going, all right, time to fight. And then Chapter 3 was the entire fight. In the same way that Chapter 4 was the entire fight. In the same way Chapter 6 was the entire fight.
Maybe I'm just misremembering.
Like,
all the fights seem to go pretty quickly, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Yeah, they show up in Chapter 5, and then Chapter 4 they're dead. Or Chapter 6 they're dead.
Yeah, they show their face at the end of Chapter 5, and then in Chapter 6 is the fight. The same way that the Darumaka guy shows his face at the end of Chapter 3, and then the entire fight is on Chapter 4.
Yeah, okay. That's fair. I do respect that they keep the fights to one thing. They don't drag them out and like, oh yeah, if you want to see the epic climax, you gotta watch or read Chapter 6, 7, and 10, because 8 and 9 are gonna be flashbacks. Dragon Ball.
I have a problem. It's a weakness of mine where I don't care about side characters. So hopefully they keep the main cast small, because I can care about the main character. I like his fighting style and stuff like that. The second we have entire side chapters where like another character we're going to meet 20 chapters down the line is important, I'm probably going to zone out a little bit during those chapters. I think Shiba's cool. I don't understand why he's such a secret and why everything he does is like off screen.
I feel like either he's going to be like, oh yeah, I've been a bad guy this whole time, just waiting for you to be off guard, or he's just going to be like, yeah, that's just what I do. I feel like he's being underutilized right now, and he should be. I want to know more about him.
I don't really care about knowing more about him. It's just the fact of every time Shiba teleports someone, like when he teleported the blonde guy outside of the building, or when he teleported the blonde girl into the car, he's always like, you didn't notice? We ran here. Like, he's always lying about it, yeah, which is pretty weird. And he tells the girl, oh yeah, you can train to be a sorcerer, absolutely.
Yeah.
Then when he's torturing the guy, it cuts off of that, so...
Yeah. It shows him, like, stepping on the guy's foot, and he starts bleeding from that.
Yeah.
I like the, I keep forgetting her name. Hanao. I like Hanao. But I feel like I like her as a side/background character, where she's just used sparingly to just...
Give exposition,
and, just be kind of goofy, but also serious. Because she does a lot of, like, thumbs up with silly faces. And just, she's very quick about the things that she talks about.
Of the main characters we have right now, which are Chihiro, the main character, Shiba, the kind of uncle that's helping him, Char, the little girl, and Hanao, the person who runs the temp agency, 3 of them are goofy.
Yeah.
The only one not goofy is the main character. So,
but he's been serious since the beginning.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just kind of resting bitch face, and he just doesn't really show emotions that well, but he clearly cares about the people around him. He cared about his father a great deal, even though his father was, lazy and just kind of...
PTSD-ridden old man, yeah.
Yeah. And... he respects Shiba, even though he's silly, he still works with him, and the girl, he wants to protect her.
If Shiba wasn't on the main character's side, nothing would have gotten done, because Hanao is the reason why they have all of the information they have now, and they know Hanao through Shiba. The best way I can describe this is, I have no belief Shiba's gonna turn into a bad guy at any point.
Yeah, no, it picks up the cars outside when they do
Jesus.
shit like that.
I have no worry that Shiva's gonna turn out to be a bad guy at the end, because that's at the level of like Zoro is waiting for Luffy to become the Pirate King so that he can kill him, so that Zoro can be the best bounty hunter, since that's what he started as, and it was all a ploy from the beginning to be the greatest swordsman and the best bounty hunter, which is meh.
Yeah. I guess we'll just see when it gets there.
I guess we'll have to see in the next chapters of Kagurabachi.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Do you want to say anything else to the people before?